My name's Adam Manaka and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
On today's show, we head to Melbourne's home of horsepower, Sandown Raceway, for round 2 of the 2018 Shannon's Nationals, featuring the Australian GT Championship and the Australian Production Car Series. Then we head to Mount Panorama, Bathurst, as a full field of Hyundai Excels duke it out for mountain supremacy as part of the Hi-Tech Oils Bathurst 6 Hour. And later we head over to Europe and to Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain for round 2 of the FIM Enduro GP World Championship. This is Speedweek.
Welcome to Sandown International Motor Raceway, as the sign says, the home of horsepower, and we're about to see one of the highest horsepower fields available in the Australian motorsport landscape let loose on this fantastic historic layout here at the little wedge of land between Dandenong and Springvale here in Melbourne. I'm Darren Smith, Matt Koch, who is one of the lucky guys in Australian motorsport. A great run yesterday for GTs, and it just continues to grow from strength to strength.
The 3-part weekend for Australian GT. This time around, 3 40-minute races, compulsory pit stops halfway through. But we've got a fabulous array of cars, some 12 different manufacturers being represented.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Corplex Mercedes-Benz Trade Club AMG GT3 number 63. I'm Pete Hackett, about to take you on a ride around the Sandown International Raceway in my AMG GT3. A very demanding circuit that's quite bumpy and challenging from a driver's point of view. As we start the run onto the start-finish straight, it's important to get a good run across the bumps. It's very bumpy as we approach the start-finish line. At this point in time, we're looking for a braking marker somewhere around about the 100-metre board and gauging the lap traffic in front of us. The slower cars become particularly challenging during traffic, and you have to be quite decisive on the run down into turn 2. A big dive under brakes, just controlling the ABS on the bumps. You can see the lock lights on the steering wheel, the blue and the purple lights, as we head into turn 4 and run onto the back straight. A really important part of the circuit, because if you get too much wheel spin or too much slide, then it costs you ultimately top speed at the end of the back straight. At the back straight, just take the chance to relax a little bit, take a deep breath, relax your fingers, check the gauges, and plan for what is the fastest corner on the circuit, the top of the hill, 5th gear back to 4th gear, ride the curbs on the left, ride the curbs on the right. As soon as the car settles, braking hard as you can, back to 2nd gear, and again, important to get a good run onto this second last part of the circuit, sector 3 in fact, and stay off the curbs. Into the last 2 corners, really tight on the right hand side, and now square the corner off, power down, try not to get too much wheel spin, hold it tight on the left, and fire to the start finish line, folks. That's the lap in my AMG GT3.
Let's have a look at the highlights.
Peter Hackett made a really good start to jump away. Field going 3 or 4 wide down there further back. Good to see they keep it clean. So easy to pick someone up and turn them around at the head of the field. So Hackett from Fraser Ross was the early part of this race. Before this happened, Ross making a big move up the inside, ultimate corner, gets the job done, rides the curbs nice and hard, and then starts to clear off at the front of this race.
The McLaren was good there, because he did that twice after that as well during the race. Here's Victor Zagami just getting tangled up a little bit with Dave Stevens. Through goes Rio Nagaro, and there's Scotty Taylor. There goes Dale Patterson whilst he was still running. Smoke coming out of the back of the rear brakes there of John Morris, obviously leaning on them pretty hard in the motorsport leasing Porsche. This was a little bit of a mix-up here as well. 2 McLarens having a bit of a kiss and a cuddle. Not so much of a cuddle, but a bit of a kiss, that's for sure, coming out of that Pertec corner that time around. Here's the next time that Fraser Ross got through on Someone down the inside there, and have a look at that. Liam Talbot tries to make it work as well. Here's where the Lamborghini fell off the lead, and a big hit on that rear wing of eventual race leader. So that could have been the end of the day for Tony Bates right there.
Yeah, lucky to get away with that one. Those rear wings, they're very, very strong in the direction they're meant to work. That's not the direction it's meant to work for Tony Quinn, who fires off the turn 1 backwards. Ricky Capper has a bit of a spin at turn 4 late in the race. Saw him drop off the lead lap. And Bates claims his 3rd Australian GT race win. Liam Talbot, though, in control, 512 points. So that is race 2 of round 3 of the Australian GT Championship.
Tony Bates will start off on pole with Fraser Ross in the McLaren right next to him. Liam Talbot, the first of the Porsches in the field, and the second Audi with Jeff Emery.
St J Robson out of P5 in the Aussie Driver Search Audi R8 LMS. Peter Hackett in 6th place in the Mercedes. And Mark Griffiths in a similar Mercedes AMG GT3 out of P7. Nick Kelly, the leading trophy class entry, out of P8. 9th is the second trophy class car of Matt Stuvers. 10th place, Scott Taylor.
So we're about to get underway with the final race for the GTs for the weekend.
The BMW safety car pulls into pit lane. That leaves Tony Bates in control of this 25-car field. On the inside line down to turn 1. Green flag flies. We are racing here for race 3 of the weekend. Tony Bates, a good start going door to door with Fraser Ross. In fact, they're going to go nearly 3 wide down towards turn 1. Liam Talbot trying to buy in up the inside. Thinks better of it, edges out. Tony Bates maintains that lead. Fraser Ross looks for the over and under as they round turn 1.
Very congested down there that time, as we saw earlier on, but no touching. There's no damage so far. Quite everyone giving each other the finest bit of room to move around in. The big winner there was the Darrell Lee car that decided to go wide and ran just down past everyone onto the run down into turn 1 there. A good couple of spots that Tony Quinn made up there. In fact, put Stuart Senior Coop Tamides behind him.
Yeah, P4, up 4 places rather for the number 7 McLaren and Tony Quinn. Fraser Ross is now at the head of proceedings from Tony Bates, the race 2 winner. A little bit earlier on, Jeff Emery is in this one as well. Liam Talbot just dropping off a little bit, just protecting himself in these early few laps. He is the championship leader. After all, he's playing the long game in 2018, having come so close last year. But Fraser Ross, in fact, we've lost Tony Bates there out of 2nd place. He's now dropped back behind Jeff Emery, so he must have run wide at the exit to Dandenong Road, opened the door for the number 1 Valvoline Audi to run on through. So it's Fraser Ross now from Jeff Emery, Tony Bates in 3rd, Liam Talbot in P4.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this could get pretty lively between Jeff and Tony. Great mates, many years, owned a race team together. I wonder how racy they're going to get with each other as this continues to go on there. So it's quite interesting to see Emery and Bates line astern with each other. Equal equipment, both in the exact same identical Audis out there. It's Mark Griffith, he's pushing pretty hard. It's Peter Hackett just up the road in front. And it doesn't look like Peter Hackett's in any rush again in this race in the St. Ali fourplex Mercedes-Benz to get underway with things. Just letting the race come to him like he did this morning. Was certainly not holding anyone up. So that if they wanted to get through, he'd open the door and ever so slightly, and if they wanted to take it, they'd go on through. But certainly got a definite plan that he is playing to this weekend, Peter Hackett.
Peter Hackett is well and truly in the championship hunt, so he, like Talbot, is playing the longer game. Meanwhile, Fraser Ross now holds a 1.8 second advantage over Emery himself, 1.2 seconds up the road from now 3rd place Liam Talbot. So Tony Bates just starting to slip back in the early stages of this race.
Gee, isn't Fraser Ross having a good run of it all early doors in this one? He's got himself a very, very handy lead indeed, and wanting to take a good points haul out of this one. Going back down through the field, watching them all come through turn 1.
Ross really needs to scamper clear here because he's in the pits for a lot longer than what Jeff Emery is. It's Emery's going to be stationary for 47 seconds in that number 1 Audi. Ross out front is going to be stationary for 62 seconds. So there's, what, 15 seconds between those two. So Ross effectively needs to clear out to the tune of 15 seconds before the pit window opens to just cover that one off.
So Fraser is encouraged to run away, isn't he?
Yeah, he
really
does.
Run away and hide at this point in time.
The worst possible thing that he could see is the safety car.
Yeah.
Just staying in touch at this point is important for Emery. As we see a little bit further back, that is Peter Hackett putting a move on Tony Bates. Moves Hackett into 5th place. Bates has just dropped another couple of spots on this lap. So the early pace isn't in that car. The race will come back to Tony Bates. He's going to be stationary for 50 seconds, courtesy of having won race 2 a little bit earlier on today.
Jai Robson, what a surprise packet on the GT landscape this year, taking out the Aussie driver search, putting some serious credibility into what that organisation are doing. They've invested in this Audi, of course, at the first round ran a Mercedes AMG. Oh no, the Lamborghini REX with Dean Koutsamides at the wheel, the number 49 classic car restorations outfit parked up, for all intents and purposes, just out of the way.
Looked like it had run out of puff, didn't it?
Yeah, just
look as though it spun, it just came to a halt. So we'll keep an eye and ear out for what race control choose to do on that. The race leaders are heading up towards that segment of the track, although we can see out of our commentary box window the cars got moving again. Meanwhile, we are watching Tony Quinn and Nick Kelly run down towards turn 1, the McLaren shaping up on the back of the leading Trophy Series competitor. This is 8th and 9th place on track, locked together in terms of the actual race. They're in different classes, so it doesn't matter a whole lot in terms of bragging rights. John Morris has also taken to pit lane, which very early in this race, the pit window isn't open for a while yet, so lots and lots happening out there in the early stages.
Tony Quinn mixing things up a little bit there, varying his racing line, taking the real shallow run into turn 1, which can be a really good move if you're in striking distance under brakes. But at the moment, I think he's just letting Nick Kelly know that I know I can put this thing just about anywhere I want to, and I will do so. It looks like a deflating left front tyre on the John Morris car. So left front, that's random here at Sandown. Right front is the one that cops all the pounding. So I wonder if he's just put that over the back of the strip somewhere and picked up and torn the tyre off the bead, or just given it a slight leak, maybe ripped the valve stem off or something like that. But here's Tony Quinn. Good to see a strong crowd in today for the Shannon's Nationals. As Tony Quinn streams on down the straight and trying to chase after Nick Kelly in the industry Audi, being chased down also there by Matt Stupas.
Battle over second place, third place rather, is Liam Talbot and Jay Robson. Through the final sequence of corners, the Porsche from the Audi. Peter Hackett not too far off the back of these two either. Talbot sitting third overall. He's been up towards the front all weekend as Liam Talbot. Tends to keep his powder reasonably dry in the first half of the race and then move forward in the second half after the pit stops. We saw Daz over the weekend, the team working to a predefined setup change during qualifying, seeking more pace and stability, you would assume. The back end of that Porsche, currently the back end of that Porsche, has the full attention of Robson in that number 98 Aussie driver search Audi R8 LMS. Mid-engine versus rear engine versus front engine, with the Mercedes looming in the background, the headlights ablaze. Peter Hackett's number 63 entry. These guys are thick end of 6 seconds off Fraser Ross, who's clearing off out front, but not as quickly as he needs to.
Good to see Fraser, though, getting a bit between the teeth and doing the job that he has to do, or at least trying to get that job done. It's a massive task to try and get that sort of gap on the nearest protagonist in the field, but it's good to see that Fraser's got the presence of mind to at least apply himself to that task at hand. And that McLaren, the Total Opticoat car, looks fantastic out on track. Having said that, pretty much struggling to find any of these GT cars that don't look fantastic out on track.
A great looking bunch of cars, huge interest from manufacturers globally. See a little bit of a freight train developing further back. Looks like Nick Kelly and Tony Quinn a little bit further back than that. Victor Zagami just moving over the GT4 Audi R8. Just moving over and allowing some of the faster cars through the GT3 machinery. Got bigger brakes, bigger engines, more power. GT4 class really starting to blossom here in Australia. We started the weekend with 5 cars in that class. We've lost a couple, unfortunately. So you see Liam Talbot there bouncing over the curbs on the approach to Sandown Road. It's sent him a little bit deep down there and allowed Robson just to close a little bit, not close enough to have a go. Get a good run through this final chicane. He might just be able to set him up. So we see Dean Koutsamides has a spin the exit of turn 4. We saw Capo have a moment there earlier in the day. Have to rely on the marshals to give him the okay to turn around, because he won't be able to see too much coming around that corner. Leaders are now approaching that zone as well.
Third time this race we've seen Dean Keatsamides make a bit of a mistake.
Peter Hackett combined with Dom Storey to win the Australian Endurance Championship last year. It's important almost to survive the sprint rounds this year. There's 300 points in the endurance round when we get to Phillip Island next time out, and then Hampton Downs at the end of the year. There's huge points there. You can't afford to risk too much. It's just a case of getting through these events and then scoring big points at those two races. We saw that last time out at the Bend as Fraser Ross continues on his ways now. 6.6 seconds up the road from Emery, who's some 3 seconds up the road from the Talbot and Robson battle. So Ross doing absolutely everything he needs to do in that Total Opticoat McLaren 650S, the YNA auto sport car run out of McElrea Racing. He's been super quick all weekend. Hasn't yet managed to stand on the top step of the podium, but he's using all the track and a little bit more. So we complete another lap. It's 14 in the books for our race leader. As we see Joe Robson back of shot there, diving into pit lane. He's the first of the leading contenders to take his compulsory pit stop. So he'll be our, I guess, our crash test dummy to see where this is all going to shake out in a couple of laps. Everyone has to come in and serve a compulsory pit stop. A couple of cars out there will have driver changes as well. Joe Robson will stay in that car though, the number 98 Aussie Driver Search Audi. Mark Griffith, Tony Quinn, Matt Stupas, they're also in the lane. So too Ricky Capo in the number 100 BMW. He'll hand that over to Steve Richards. As out front, Fraser Ross continues on working his way through the Lamborghini Huracan. The next one up the road, the Lamborghini Gallardo. Jimmy Nolius has been passed. Next up is Yanina Dassa, the old and new of Lamborghini's range. Is there smoke coming out of the back of the Lamborghini Huracan?
Let's keep an eye on that, because there's definitely certainly smoke pouring out of
the BMW.
Number 100, isn't there?
There might be some
no doubt
brakes.
That. Putting some damage repair tape across the front of the BMW. Certainly the bits of tape get bigger and bigger these days, don't they?
So race leader Fraser Ross is in the lane. Campbell Little, the car controller at the front of that one. Man, he's got huge amounts of experience. As we see Joe Robson rejoin, so too Steve Richards rejoining with the bandage over the nose of the car. It just increases airflow. It's what all the performance athletes use.
Russell Ingall used to use one of those ones, the nostril expander, didn't he?
Absolutely. Speaking with Chris Pither early in the weekend, he says, I come out with all sorts of cuts and bruises from driver changes. I've got no idea why. So we see Peter Hackett now in the lane, the Eggleston Motorsport crew. Just looks like they're bleeding off some pressure.
Front rowers in rugby league come out with less scratches and bruises than a manhandled driver by a crew member.
Liam Talbot's also in the lane, a little bit further up pit lane from what we're looking at here. So all the leading contenders now really starting to serve their stops. The last one out there is Jeff Emery. Scott Taylor and Nick Kelly are also yet to take their stops.
This is a lonely wait, isn't it?
The countdown.
Being watched on by our very own there, Greg Rust in the background. He's taking it all in. Very experienced man around the racetracks. Been great to have Greg Rust join us.
See the timer in pit lane there now. That's interesting, that car moved. Did you see what time that was when it moved there?
Yeah, it did. It did. Whether
so let's have a look here. 9:11:50, so they're okay. They're absolutely okay there. So it was 54 seconds when he moved. He needed to serve 53, so he was okay. The reason he stopped was just to allow that other car in pit lane to clear the pit box before he attempted to rejoin. So now, absolutely
just
okay.
Before we move on from that point, say if he released the clutch at 51 seconds and he left 1.8 seconds before the time's up, what's the onus on the team to come in for another 1.8? Or they have to start all over again?
Start all over again. It doesn't count as a compulsory pit stop. So we saw that at the Bend a couple of weeks ago. Garth Tander and Jeff Emery, the car got pushed and the timer didn't reset. They were a couple of seconds early. As a result, they had to come in and serve that compulsory pit stop, and cost them a good result that weekend. But Liam Talbot back out there in the race, tucked up in now behind the number 19 Mercedes-AMG GT3 of Mark Griffith, the Hog's Breath Cafe Griffith Corporation car. Both of those cars have taken their compulsory stops. So
all these three cars currently on screen, so Hackett in the back there, that's all for track position at the moment, and it's position 7, 8 and 9 on the road.
Yep. So it looks as though when this shakes out that Fraser Ross is going to be up towards the front. Jeff Emery is in pit lane. Oh, speaking of nursing things, Tony Quinn, he's nursing a broken nose. It's just rubbing on the front left tyre.
Nothing quite like a Scotsman getting in a stoush and having a broken nose.
There's also smoke coming off the right front of Jan Yinadasa, or perhaps even it's the right rear.
Here we go.
Okay, so there's been contact between Nick Kelly and Tony Quinn. I really caught the tail end of that. Not sure if Jan Yinadasa was caught up in either the before or afters of that one. And there is Jan Yinadasa back out with smoke out of the right-hand side.
So it's come in for a pit stop with that smoke pouring out of it. They've done the stop and sent it back out with the issue.
That looks like tyre rub, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you know, we both spoke about that whilst it was in the lane.
Yeah, it looks as though
that's a rear.
Yeah, it looks as though they've tried to put some tape and whatnot on to hold the bodywork off the tyre, but
I like what they've done there too. They've used the right colour body tape as well, purple paint.
Attention to detail.
That's good for Mother's Day, isn't it? Keep an eye on the makeup.
So, Jeff Emery has lost a little bit of time now to Fraser Ross. Liam Talbot's 7 odd seconds off the back of Ross, but we're looking at the battle for fourth between Taylor and Griffith. A little bit further back, Jimmy Nolius puts a lap on the Seidler car. Luke Seidler in that Porsche GT3 Cup car. No match for an outright GT3 Lamborghini.
Jim Manolis is currently running 13th on the road. They've all been through their pit stop, so he's in a pretty strong position at this point in time.
That's not bad for Jim, having a good weekend out.
13 minutes left in this race, so the Trofeo crew working very hard with Jim, and of course Dean Canto's been giving him strong coaching.
And how's this though? This is the, as we say, the battle for fourth. The number 188 car, the Eat Furniture Audi. That's our leading trophy class contender. That's an Audi R8 Ultra. It's a generation older than those it's battling with. Rear Nagara currently sitting in 6th place, mixing it with the likes of Scott Taylor, Mark Griffith and Peter Hackett, a trio of Mercedes-AMG GT3s.
We've seen Rio Nagaro sort of some forays in and out of the trophy series over the last couple of seasons, particularly last year, stayed with it all throughout the year and really started to develop on. And I guess that now he's running with, let's say, the next echelon of GT racing. He's just lifting his game to match the environment around him.
Yeah, he's got some serious talent, does Rio Nagara. Sri Lankan heritage, doesn't have a lot of racing experience, but is incredibly passionate about it, incredibly enthusiastic about his racing. Started competing with Jake Foraker in the Trophy Series, now running solo in that 188 Audi. Great to see him up there in 6th place overall, leading the trophy class. Quite some distance. Nick Kelly, of course, had that moment earlier that left him pointing the wrong way. To get where he is, down to P14, so some way down the order. So Rio Nagara looking pretty good at the moment. He's just lost a spot to Peter Hackett on track.
It's the other interesting thing that Rio Nagara's got the fastest second sector of the track too.
Gisgami does his best to stay out of the way of Scott Taylor, Mark Griffith and Peter Hackett. That trio of Mercedes-AMG GT3s currently squabbling over 4th place. Scott Taylor in the 222, the black and green Mercedes, currently holds down 4th. Then it's Griffo in the white Mercedes in 5th. Just about where's the rear end. It's a much better exit. We're going to go 3 wide.
Yeah,
3-pointed star, 3 wide down the front straight. Peter Hackett moves to the inside. He's probably a car length back. Is he going to be the bravest on the brakes going down into turn 1? He is. Does Griffo know that he's on the inside? Visibility is now. Great move, Peter Hackett. Great awareness from Mark Griffith.
That's the Scott Peter Hackett that we've been waiting to see.
That's what we've been waiting for.
P4 too.
Great move. Great driving by the 3 guys there. Scott Taylor loses 2 spots in the 1 move. Peter Hackett moves forward 2 spots in the 1. Must mean that Mark Griffith stayed absolutely exactly where he was.
Yep, that's exactly right. Well, that's the kind of driving we like to see out of Peter Hackett. Been waiting for that sort of move from him.
As we focus on this battle for the lead, 3.5 minutes to go. Audi versus McLaren, Emery versus Ross. The strategy game has been played out, and this is what we've been left in nose to tail. Audi a slide out of the final corner. Quick replay, and it's a Ginetta.
Nagaro.
Yeah, Ria Nagara and the Ginetta G55 of Mark Kane involved there. Emery, he's just got the legs down the front straight here. He's getting out of that final sequence a little bit better than the McLaren, and although Fraser Ross seems to have the pace through this part of the track, there's just no way through. Really, it needs to be close enough here.
They're going to be coming up on the back of Stephen Richards in the next little while. Maybe not. Yeah, well, there he is. There's Stephen Richards getting through on the GT4 of Victor Zagami. So the pace that got those guys a really strong result yesterday in the BMW has just suffered a little bit here today. And I'm going to call it ideal conditions because it's a nice, crisp, cool day. The sun's been shining. It's the first bit of shadow starting to sneak across the front straight here. And it's certainly been dry racing all day long. We've had mixed bag yesterday, and certainly Friday was wet all day, but this is ideal. And for all the classes, our open lid prototype races and these GT cars, they do like the cooler air. It helps the engines operate better. Helps the drivers keep the sweat off their brow a little bit too, getting some cool air come through the cabin. So here we go, the Valvoline Jamek Pem Audi being driven by Jeff Emery up against the Optico Total McLaren being driven by Fraser Ross. Liam Talbot a little bit distant third, and a little bit distant fourth is Peter Hackett in the Corplex AMG GT. And a really strong drive in this one for fifth place so far is Mark Griffith and Scotty Taylor, who's in seventh place at the moment. So a couple of veterans at it. They're acquitting themselves very, very nicely indeed in their AMGs.
So probably two more opportunities left for Fraser Ross. He's too far back, you would think, down at Dandenong Road. Across the top they go, take a lot of curb, get it nice and stable under brakes, tip it in. This is where Fraser Ross, though, has been so strong all weekend. We've seen him throw it up the inside a couple of times. They're almost nose to tail. He's probably a little bit too far back. He's got to have a go, though, doesn't he?
Well, that was the last corner that he's had a lot of success on all year long. But Fraser Ross will disappear into the shadows of Jeff Emery as he takes a race 3 for the weekend in the Australian GT Championship. And Fraser Ross will take P2. Here comes Liam Talbot charging to the line of the Hot Wheels Car Care Products outfit from Walkinshaw Racing. Liam Talbot home in third place. And here comes Peter Hackett from Mercedes-Benz AMG to the line there in the Corplex car to the line.
We look at the results. So confirmation then of Jeff Emery ahead of Fraser Ross. Liam Talbot then in P3 in the Porsche. So Peter Hackett, Mark Griffith, Joe Robson in the Audi, Scott Taylor in the Mercedes AMG GT3. So Rio Nagara, the first trophy class home, his first trophy class race win. Congratulations go to Rio Nagara on a fantastic drive. So Mark Sini, Dave Stevens in the Ferrari 458 GT3.
Oh mate, it was awesome. Obviously we came back out in P1, but Fraser was chasing us down. He's doing an awesome job behind me, and obviously his tyres sort of hit a bit of a brick wall, and we sort of ended up stuck sort of racing each other, and he put me under a lot of pressure, which was great. I had an absolute ball. Oh, I'm loving it, mate. It was great. You know, 3 40-minute races was perfect today. You know, and yesterday obviously it's worked really well for us.